Welcome to Mam's Talk, where Mam's Talk Survivor. I'm Kay, host and game planner of this season of Survivor Skaneateles, and I'm here with my co-host, contestant Jess.
Hello. Very excited to talk about this crazy merge episode.
Messy, messy, messy. Two people went home.
Hmm.
There was a nighttime scene. We get a bright
Time
morning.
jump.
Time jump. Really dramatic stuff happening here. So,
Yes.
before we jump in, I just want to say, we're going to have two people with us today. We're going to have Santino, our first boot, and our first juror, Caroline, will be joining us later. So without further ado, let's get started. So we're about to enter the merge,
Hmm.
and we're just let's talk about like the coconuts strategy here, going in because I think that's a big part of this episode.
Yes. We definitely had a lot of merge discussions because we were like pretty confident that the merge was coming. I think just considering how late it was in the
Because
daytime,
the sun was going down. Yeah.
we were like, it's got to be coming like next, basically. And we were very as we discussed last episode, invigorated by the win of the bucket challenge.
Yeah.
And
On
there
a
was a
high.
strong, yeah, we were riding a high. We were
Yeah.
really going crazy. And we were bonded as a team. So we talked about like, okay, once we get to the merge, like what's our plan as a strong five. Grant talks about it a little bit, the Coco
Hmm.
five he has
Right.
envisioned, which I think is kind of how everyone was feeling at the time. Obviously some more strongly than others, but we definitely were thinking of working together at least once we got start right into the merge.
Right. We also get some insight from Gabby that like specifically Dylan, Caroline, and Santino are worrisome to her. I don't know if this was
Hmm.
universal for the whole tribe, but um it felt that way.
We discussed Santino and Caroline specifically being our first two targets. Since at the merge, obviously it's individual immunity. We kind of were like, whichever one doesn't win, like if one of them wins, the other one's out, kind of is what we had discussed. So that served us well in the very surprising Mergatory competition.
Hmm.
Literally, that's what happened. Caroline won. So we decided that our best shot was Santino. That was, however, aided by the fact that Allie was, you know, trying to get Santino out for her own
Mm.
reasons.
Yeah, let's talk about the challenge like a little bit
Yeah.
more. So first of all,
Hmm.
we do get that little twisty twist. That like it's like almost a merge, like it's individual, but you're working with a partner, but they
Hmm.
had to be someone from the opposite tribe.
Yeah.
Um, and then whoever won or both tribes would be going to tribal council in a
Hmm.
combined tribal. So like sort of like the first real um like merge
Yeah.
boot, but not quite. So Santino
Yeah.
does not get to be in jury, unfortunately.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
what are your thoughts when the twist was revealed?
it was very stressful. I think that I was very like strategy brain going, what's gonna happen, what's gonna happen. But I also was thinking about like myself. Like I was like, this is like anything could happen here. Like, even if no one on my tribe had been talking about me, like, and I'm sure everyone's
Mhm.
feeling the same way. Like, even if you're safe within the context of your tribe, we didn't even have the numbers at this time. So we were like, sure it was going to be one of us going. So it was just a very scary surprise.
I'm curious if like you think any of the pairs were like strategic in like a game sense, like not just like who can I win this challenge with, but like who do I maybe want to work with? I mean, we see you and Allie pair up, is there
Yeah.
something more there?
I think that there maybe was a little bit something more with me and Allie, but I know me and Allie both were looking elsewhere to find someone who could help us win first. But once we didn't really have any strong options there, we decided to work together, which I think was more because we were friends. But I think it was, we talked a little bit about how like we were chit-chatting on the sidelines of the bucket challenge. I think it was a similar like familiar camaraderie happening, which whether it was intention to be game building game relationship building, I think it was building that relationship regardless, because it felt like an olive branch across the tribe divide in that moment.
Yeah. And then Max also gets a scroll, if you will.
Yes.
And we don't learn till later, but it is like the clue to the other half of the Union Idol. And he doesn't seem to be looking that hard.
Well, he lifted that rock up.
He
You saw
lifted the
him.
rock up, and just to be completely transparent, that was after I had asked him in the confessional, like, "Have you been looking for that?" And he was like, "You know, I'm still looking." And that was me, like, just filming him do that. And then, like,
Yeah.
after he lifted the rock, he was like, "Guess it's not here." Anyway, moving on.
I do think that a lot of people like genuinely forgot that he even had it. Like
I
once we
think
got to
him
day 2,
too.
well, himself included. Why
Yeah.
it was funny because I noticed there was a what I said felt like a production prompt for me to say, "Oh, and let's not forget, Max also has an advantage of some kind," which was just something that I said on my own,
hmm
but the way that it's spliced into the episode
But thank
is
you, because
you're welcome.
it does also remind the viewer, really
Mhm.
great stuff. Thank you for thinking of
You're
the
welcome.
edit.
And I say it in such a convincing robotic tone for some reason that it really feels natural.
You say it in the same way that I think a lot of other, not that you are lying, but a lot of the
Mhm.
lies that were told this episode were told. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, um, what's when okay, so in the same realm of the challenge,
Mhm.
Allie and others on the sideline are kind of chit-chatting about who they want to go,
Yeah.
right?
Actually,
And
let's
then
talk about that
yeah,
because
yeah.
that was a huge thing that was happening on the sidelines of that
Mm-hmm.
challenge. Zach even had said to me afterwards that he like kind of gave up on the challenge, like not that he gave up because he's clearly still trying. Him and Justin are still trying, but he didn't really care to win because he saw that there was scheming happening on the sidelines. And I think that that ended up being a lot more valuable than immunity in that moment. Just to say that before we, yeah, but
Yeah, but back to the lying that
yeah,
was very transparent. So once we get to the actual tribal council, I asked like, "What's the strategy of this vote?" And Allie said, "Well, haven't barely gotten a chance to talk to anyone. I really don't know. No one really knows."
she said I haven't had a chance to talk to barely anyone.
It was very convincing.
Yeah, and I believed her.
Meanwhile, there's like six people on the sidelines, like, psh, 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 psh,
Yeah, it was not subtle, like at all.
not subtle.
Which brings back the point that Zach was like, "Oh, gotta get in on that." Like it was so
Right.
clear that's what was happening.
Yeah. And not a lot else to talk about the actual challenge other than um there was some confusion, I think, about like what the lower where the lower back started. Um I think some contestants had a lot of pushback on me calling them out on their lower back.
Yes, yeah, there was a. I think some people felt they were sitting upright when perhaps their back was curving towards the ground. Um,
I mean, you can be the judge. You can look at the footage. But
I think we also have to talk about the fact that Santino does completely drop and touch the ground at a point.
well, yes, there are certain like sections of the round. The first round you could like touch the ground
mhm.
and but your feet still had to be up. The second part, your hands could be on your legs but could not be on the ground. And
Yes.
Santino put his hands on the ground. And I didn't see it, but it's
Mhm.
clear from the footage that
That he
he
knew he
knew
did
that he
that.
made a boo-boo.
Mhm. He goes, and then
Literally
you go, and then you go,
like a little kid.
little wiggle from from Santino, little wiggle from Santino, and then he
Yeah, because
goes,
he goes, oh.
yeah.
So a cheater twice
It's a
now.
good thing he didn't win that challenge because,
There would have been some
yeah.
controversy for sure. I also just
Hmm.
like me like being like, Grant, you have a here's your one check for lower back, does nothing to correct it. I like
Hmm.
count him down. I'm like, you gotta fix it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Doesn't fix it, and then I'm like, oh, okay, you're out. And he's like, what?
It seems like he looks at you when you say that too. Like I thought he was listening, and then suddenly
Uh,
he seems confused. I don't know.
Whatever. But
Whatever. Yeah.
congratulations to Caroline and Gabby.
Yeah, great work from these two. They had such good formation. Like they were solid. I feel like they could have kept going.
I think, oh yeah, they had a nice little
They
they had
didn't
some
even
right
seem
angles happening.
it was like a table.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was gonna beat them, so it was
No,
better that we
they
ended
were
it quick,
chilling.
I think.
Yes, I think so. It was getting dark.
Yeah, so we move into the actual tribal council, and then we get at the time I was very frustrated about it, but looking back on it, I am overjoyed by the lost footage and
Yeah.
self-taped like voting confessionals that are happening.
Yes.
Uh
People really pulled out all the stops to give you a good confessional to put in the episode.
yeah.
Allie's wearing that she's changed back into her outfit.
Yeah.
Max sets up a almost more survivor-esque setting of walking up the stairs to the
Mm,
voting booth.
yeah. I mean,
Um
he was lucky enough to have the
the
materials
space.
at the house.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
Some are at a disadvantage in that respect.
certainly.
But yeah, it was funny. I enjoyed it. I liked hearing everyone's like recreations of like why they voted the person they voted and stuff.
Mm. Oh, let's talk about Grant's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I asked him, and I asked everyone to like tape their voting confessionals, and he sends me what you see at the end was the first one of him
hmm
just being like, "Oh boy, I'm gonna do a Godfather impression." And I was like, "Okay, but like I do kind of need like a serious one. Like I appreciate the energy that you're giving to me, but like in the context of the episode, I don't know that it's really gonna read."
Yeah.
Um and he sends the other one, whatever the second one is about, like
It
you
was the
you were the love of my life or something. I don't
yeah,
know. He
yeah,
said,
yeah.
and then the one with the bird.
Well, that one's my favorite. Oh
It's
boy,
it's gr-
Pepito, it's time to vote someone off the island.
it's great, but yeah, in
Yeah,
the actual tribal
of
council
course.
montage, if you will, I don't know that
Yeah.
it was gonna work. So they're
I
there
also
to for us to enjoy.
I appreciated him going, "Oh boy, I'm not sure what's gonna happen tonight. Better use
Better
my
use my
idol."
idol,
It was good, great foreshadowing for when he used his
and he
idol.
did use the idol. And I think some people give him a little bit of a hard time for this. It's like, oh, like you didn't need it. But like
Uh-huh.
in his defense,
Yeah.
people are whispering in the corner, you
Yeah.
know, he hasn't had a chance to talk to anybody. He knows that he's sort of like a threat going
hmm
in, and like people were kind of talking about him, especially from the dolls side, and
hmm
they do have the numbers
Of
at this
course,
point.
that is definitely a concern.
So like, and if he had gone out with an idol in his pocket, I think we would be having a
A
different
different
conversation.
conversation. I
Like
actually have to talk about that because Grant actually told me afterwards that he used the idol because I sent him a look, which was me trying to signal to him, stick to the plan,
big
stick to the
plan.
plan.
Mm,
Which that we had, as I said, we had discussed Caroline or Santino. Caroline can't be voted for. It's obviously going to be Santino. That was like what I was trying to send to him with my eyes. And he read that as play your idol because I was the only one who knew about the idol. So he thought I was telling him to play it.
yeah.
He might have played it without that, but he did tell me that that was like the reason he thought he was unsafe in that moment. So that's my bad. But
Listen, I am curious if it was like truly blind, how this would have gone. I feel like because you guys had that conversation beforehand,
Mhm.
you guys probably still would have gotten out Santino. Is I feel like
Yeah,
that's fair.
considering they weren't like unified on a person. Like
Yeah.
that definitely helped because Santino's voting Zach, Caroline's voting Justin, um, and then oh Grant was out of the loop, he voted Dylan. But yeah, like they didn't seem to have a person going in. So even if Allie and Dylan don't flip on Santino with us, it's like probably still gonna be Santino if we're all unified in that.
Yeah, so Santino does go by a pretty large majority considering the the situation that we have going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you
And
have anything
I
else to
was
say before we bring the boy in?
I just wanted to say that I was like reliving the stress of that moment, because the thing that really stressed me out was once we read, like I was like just really wanted to get to the vote. Like I didn't want anything to change because I just couldn't believe that we had like I didn't know about Bucketgate, so I was kind of like, oh my God, like we somehow have Allie and Dylan. We can't let this go. Like, you know what I mean? Like we were like, we need to just like before anyone can change their mind, we need to just go. So I was kind of just like, it's time to vote. Let's go. But then once the votes are like 3 random people that were not discussed, I was like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And then it was all Santino, and it was just very stressful, very stressful tribal. So good job, Kay. You stressed us all out.
Thank you. That's my job. So yeah, we're gonna bring the man of the hour in. He made a big impact.
Yes.
So let's see what he has to say. Oh my God, the man, the myth, the legend is here. Santino,
What do you
welcome.
do? Thank you for having
Welcome.
me.
Yeah,
Thanks
I
for
mean,
coming on to talk to us.
you were such a big character, gone too soon, but maybe not soon enough.
This is just to get my feet wet and get grounded for the next season. I had to get a feel for the competition.
Yeah, you gotta make a big move before you can really figure out what you're doing here.
A big splash, if you will.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Like with a bucket, perhaps. But so let's
Or
talk about
saving
it.
someone.
Or
So
saving
true.
someone.
Yeah. So yeah, you had a lot of versatility in your character, right? At the beginning of the season, it was mentioned that your favorite players were Ozzy and Russell.
Mhm.
Where do you think you fall on that spectrum
I
of Ozzy to
definitely
Russell?
fall more on the Ozzy side because even looking back at his old videos and watching what he did, Ozzy made it far and won so many competitions, but he never got to uh, a very secured place like Russell did with his immunity idols and all the alliances he had throughout all the seasons. Ozzy was just statistically great at the games, but not the game as a whole,
Mm.
which
Gotcha.
I think is definitely where I fall in.
So you
Yeah,
think you
I
could
could.
have done better strategically, is what I'm hearing.
Yes. I think the challenges pushed me a little bit, others a little bit more, but I think I came in too optimistic and free thinking, I guess, to think that everyone can be taken at their face values.
Mm-hmm.
You're too trusting.
Mhm.
I feel like you had a good some good groundwork happening though. But I'm wondering if you feel like you could have managed your physical threat level better.
Mm.
You mean like keeping my cards a little close to my chest or something?
Yeah, and like maybe not going so hard in the challenges, like because
I
it made you such
agree.
an obvious target for everyone, you know?
Mhm. But I also have to think in my
Mm-hmm.
mind, if I don't perform well enough, then I'm just going to get voted off as a
Yeah,
liability. So
that's
Yeah,
it's
true.
it's a hard balance for sure,
mhm.
because like you want to like provide for your tribe, if you
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
of
will.
course, of course.
But then if you provide too much, now the other team's looking at you kind of funny, right?
Yeah, we were looking at you funny for sure.
I was not looking at you funny. I was impressed.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Except for one
Well,
major
Except
moment.
for the major moment, my
Let's talk
my
about it.
blemish on my career.
Yeah, I'm giving you the floor. Whatever you want to say. Now's the
Um,
time.
I guess on that, put yourself in my shoes. I'm half naked. I'm getting water thrown on me just
Mhm.
constantly, every single throw. And in my mind, the team is already halfway through. Obviously, looking back at it now, clearly not what I want to be known for or do in future challenges, but
Mhm.
you get to a nearly what's the word? Like frostbitten or hyper
hypothermia.
Frostbite, hypothermia.
I
All
was
right, all
cold,
right.
okay?
It
I
was
was
like
cold.
It was like 75 degrees outside. It was not that cold.
I'll tell you what, we can pour buckets on you and stand outside in the 70 degrees.
I mean,
We'll
yeah,
see.
I can't speak for the bucket challenge. I did not participate, so
Mhm.
you
I
know.
think that was definitely by far the most physically draining task, which I think
Sure.
also shined through of the mental standing of everybody, myself included. I
Yeah.
think it showed me as a little bit weaker, as if it comes to a war of an attrition, I might not be the best. I'm good at those split decision or quick acting moments and challenges,
Mhm.
but if it has to do over a prolonged time, I worry I put the wrong image out there. So I'm hoping to correct that in later seasons.
Gotcha. So let's talk about your strategy, right? You had a nice relationship with Max and Caroline, right? You formed this little
So I thought.
alliance.
So I thought.
I think they had your back from what I
Yeah, I think
understand.
it seemed like they were all in on it. I mean, I don't know about
I
Caroline.
I
She
was
always,
hearing mixed signals about Caroline. I feel like maybe
well,
Max I could have gone further with, but I've been
Does
hearing a
wait,
lot.
does Max vote for Santino at
He
the
might have.
merge?
He might have.
I think he maybe
I think
did.
he did. I think it was probably
Yeah.
one of
Oh,
those
well, he
like,
was because he was already on the sidelines with us when we were talking about
yeah,
it. So
I
I
think
think
he
he just
probably
went with,
realized that it was like a lost cause, like the numbers were already against you, and he was like, well, I don't want to make an enemy, so I
Mhm.
guess I'll throw one on
yeah,
my boy.
I think he kind of was convinced by Allie and Dylan that it was like the time to get rid of you. So, but I do think that like if you had maybe, I don't know, in a different scenario where like this combined tribal didn't happen, like I think you guys could have been a strong three um through. But Caroline always has a master plan, so I don't
Mhm.
know.
Mm.
I don't know if you fit into that. We can ask her later.
So I'm curious. So it seemed like Allie and Dylan were like the big reason that you went there, because I guess you guys didn't have that trust in each other. Is there anything you felt like you could have done to like make sure that they knew that you had their back come merge?
Um, I I really don't think so, because I mean, like I already said, where my game was really lacking was forming those secretive bonds and playing the game behind the scenes. I was much more of a figurehead type player, a face of the
Mhm.
operations, but I didn't really know the correct steps to take for the future. I knew how to live and act in the moment, but I didn't know how to cement that and help it further my game. I mean, obviously I made very strong impressions during the challenges, but I'm sure everybody else was disgusting and strategizing a lot more behind the scenes than I was.
Mhm.
Disgusting?
Disgusting, my bad.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh wow.
Those filthy
I was like,
players.
hot take.
Yeah, we're playing
If
dirty
you're
out here.
strategizing, you're disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did
Gotcha.
a lot of tribal talk. Yeah, you were like, let's put our cards on the table kind of
Yeah.
player, kind
Mhm.
of.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think sometimes like when you are kind of upfront and honest about like who you are, like people know where you stand, so they don't have to worry about you sneaking behind
Mhm.
their backs, you know what I mean? Like someone like Grant, for instance, is like the complete opposite of that.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
people were like looking at him left, right, up, down, sideways, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I
Yeah.
think people knew where you stood. It just you weren't aligned with them. You know?
Mhm. Mhm.
That makes sense. Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's talk about if you were in the game still. What would you have done moving forward? Did you have a strategy come merge, or were we just kind of winging it?
So I guess the biggest things would be early on in the game. I want to know what the deal is with all of the side hustles going on. So with seeing the variety of all the immunity idols where one could work, one couldn't work, there's a part two to this idol or challenges and all that stuff. I feel those would be important to know what kind of cards can be played,
Mhm.
because I was having a big internal struggle of whether or not I should play my immunity idol.
Mhm.
But at that point in the game, I had seen most things come with a note or something. So it confused me that this was so far the only one that didn't.
Mhm.
And I guess I did save myself some embarrassment because it ended up being a fake,
Yeah.
which is another reason why I led myself to kind of not trust Caroline as much, because I did reveal that IL-2 Max and Caroline, and I showed
Mhm.
them exactly what it looked like and described it to them. But Caroline had never mentioned that she had found it and rehid it. And I
Yeah.
only found that out later on. So that would be
Yeah.
one big one. And the second one would just be maybe try to pull more people aside and get a one-on-one or my own individual groups going. I really don't know how I can make a good impression on the other team before the merger happens, though. So uh, my next strategy would just be figuring out how I can make a better impression on the opposing team rather than make myself seem like a threat.
Yeah. It is hard to, like we said, balance those things, like being a visibly strong player that people want to keep around, but not someone you want to get out before merge or like
Mm-hmm.
once the merge comes around. Because like to me, this was like the optimal time to get you out.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were
Before
gonna
you could even
be.
get started, you had
Yeah,
to get cut off.
exactly.
I
They
mean,
didn't
I
even
look at
they
it's
didn't even
honoring,
let you in
honestly.
jury.
I get it. I get it. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing to be feared, but it's it's also terrifying to be
Yeah, yeah.
looked at that way as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I gotta say you were a great cameraman.
Yes.
Thank you. I tried to get as many different angles as
I
I
mean,
could.
Those
just
bucket
looking at
shots.
this, yeah, the endurance challenge with the buckets, it looks phenomenal. So thank you.
I'm
Appreciate
so
that.
glad to hear that.
Your brief stint as cameraman.
All right, so before, oh my God, the Raising Cane's sponsorship. Did you bring your Raising Cane's with you? Not sponsored, not
Not
sponsored,
sponsored,
not
not sponsored.
sponsored, not sponsored.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know
Gotta
everyone's
hide
gonna
that
say
logo.
like, oh, like you guys are like sellouts, but like not sponsored. Anyway, so before we wrap up, I just want to know if you have anything that you want to say, or maybe regrets, advice, anything that you maybe want to do next time. You have the floor.
Um, I think my final send off would probably be, yeah, judge a book by its cover in at least this situation. And I guess for future contestants, give me a shot, baby. I can be your greatest ally. You never know.
Well,
Don't stick to the old alliances. I know Jess has her hand in a couple of alliances, and a few people know her as a well experienced player, but let's get the next gen in.
oh, hey.
Oh.
So wait,
Casting.
you're a book, right? What's the title of your book?
That is a good question. I feel like the cover has just been scratched out and I can't see the title anymore. So
Whoa.
Wow.
for this
Whoa.
book,
A
you do
fresh
actually have to,
start.
yeah.
You gotta open it up.
We don't even talk about that old title. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Santino, so much for this. This was fun. I hope that you had fun playing,
I
and
had a fantastic time. Thank you for having me.
we hope to see you again. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
It was really great to talk to Santino, and hear his perspective on things. Hopefully we'll see him again. That was fun.
Yeah, he made great TV. I'll say that.
Fantastic television, that boy.
I would definitely love to see him play again in the future.
So back to the episode. I know it's a little funky because we had like a 2-person elimination here, but so
Yes.
after Santino goes, we have a little nighttime montage. Very
Yeah, which
fun.
by the way, we did not film like nearly enough of this, but like because Kay told us to film it. But after a whole day of gaming and like
I don't
doing
think I
things
did
for
tell you to
camera.
film it.
You did. You said no one filmed nighttime activities and you were upset because all we had was Uno and that one shot of Gabby and then Grant making the fire.
Yeah, those were the
But
3 things that I filmed.
yeah, that's all we had. No one
No,
filmed anything.
But to be super clear, this there was like no game happening at
Yeah.
night. We just like really wanted people to like relax because like, you know, tensions get very high during the
Mhm.
game and like, you know, we didn't want people to like feel like animosity like when it's
Yeah.
just like let's just hang out, let's have a little fire, play some Uno, you know, giggle, and then
Yeah,
tomorrow game's on.
but you wanted us to film fun stuff and no one did.
Listen, and I'm happy with what I filmed.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, because you were, when we were editing this, you were like, God, no one filmed any of this.
I mean, a bigger montage would have been nice or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that I filmed Grant making the fire because
Oh yeah.
boy, does this become a big
Oh
story.
yes. The fact that it's literally then mentioned about the flint and steel later in the
Well,
episode is like
he brought
so
his own
funny.
flint and steel. The
Which
second
then
I
made
saw him, the second I saw him pull it out, I was like, "Oh my God, I have to record this. This is gonna be something." Even if
Well,
it didn't become a plot line, I was like, "That's just crazy, right?"
Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, I think he thought that this was gonna be a lot more like campy
He definitely
because
did. Yeah.
he said he brought like a dozen eggs and like a cast iron skillet. Like that was like what was in his car.
Yeah.
He
And he
was
brought
ready
like
to like be,
potatoes and carrots and stuff.
yeah. He was
It
ready
was
to forage.
it was very cute.
Mhm.
But yeah, he was definitely doing a lot. And I think that like really got other people paranoid. Specifically the Flint thing, 'cause people were like,
Oh
shit,
yeah.
are we using Flint?
Yeah, I didn't even know about the flint thing, but I will say, at any given campfire, Grant is the one making the fire. Like, this is something that is known about him by the people who are his friends, is that
Yeah.
he makes fire and he prides himself on being able to make a good fire. So this is something that's like known and shared with everyone that like, yeah, he can make a fire.
Yeah, he's the fire guy.
Yeah.
Former Boy Scout,
Mhm.
current fire enthusiast.
Yeah, current fire, that's a good way to put it. Current fire enthusiast.
Wait, his lower third?
He is perpetually enthusiastic about making the fire at any given gathering.
Yeah,
that
and also
circles a fire pit.
not just making it, but tending to it. Like no one
Yes,
else can
yes.
poke the logs.
Well, he's got the
tending
magic
to
touch
it the whole time.
He's got the
you know.
magic touch. You can't mess with it.
Yeah, he's the golden boy. You don't call him that for no reason.
And to be clear, he did not actually make fire with that flint and steel, correct?
No, he actually failed on that front.
We had to go to matches.
Yeah, no, I think we used a lighter.
Yeah.
But it was so much more interesting.
Well, it was
that he
my
made it with
favorite. The
flint.
music cue was perfect. Also, it was
Thank you
like
so much. Thank you.
It was so fun, and then it was like dun 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 dun
brown, and then Ella's like,
yeah, it's like oh, yeah,
I'm overall this episode I'm incredibly proud of. I feel
it's very like funny. We also need to talk about some of the personas that people are now embodying in this day 2 era that we are in, because myself included, there's some crazy stuff going on, like in general.
Gabby woke up on something.
I think sleep deprivation is what she woke up on.
Yeah, okay.
Because we did go, also, to be clear, we went to bed at like what, 1? Like it was really late. Like,
and then people woke up at like 5, 6, 7.
We didn't finish until like 11, and then we had to eat. So we went to bed like definitely after midnight, and like we had to start the next day at like 8. So we were like pretty much everyone who wanted to like, you know, get ready and stuff was pretty much waking up at 6. So
so let's talk about day 2 is here. We have not officially merged yet, but you know, it's kind of like pretty obvious that's what's going to happen, and people are allowed to talk to one another if they're ready. So you know, we see people already starting to kind of like see what the vibe is. Allie is talking to Gabby, trying to suss out like what's her deal. Allie's doing this with like a couple people from the Coconuts, like getting feelers, and she's not getting a lot from really anyone except for you, Jessica.
Yes, and I'm not really in the episode, honestly. But because all I say to her in the episode is that I want Caroline out, which that's like
that's enough. No,
No,
you say you want Grant and maybe Gabby.
is that in the episode? The
I think
Gabby thing?
so.
Oh,
I
okay.
think
Because that was the thing that she told me like later
so.
that was like I was the only person saying names for my tribe, and that
Right,
was like,
because I mean that was a big thing for her. She's like really trying to get someone from
mhm,
the Coconuts to say someone from the Coconuts
yeah,
name, and like people were like kind of saying Grant, but like she's a smart girl.
yeah,
She can read between the lines, you know, like
yeah,
she knows that like there's something off here. Like everyone can't just be thinking Grant. Like there's more to
right.
the puzzle here. So she doesn't really trust anyone, but you give her a little more.
Yeah, because it will to her, it seems like what we did is we discussed that Grant was gonna be our like, okay, Grant's our shield and we're gonna throw him out as bait to the dolls. Like that is what it seems like when
Mhm.
everyone is aligned, which also isn't like I don't remember if we talked about that, but it was like also just kind of obvious that Grant is like, if we're gonna get rid of someone, it's gonna be Grant, you know, like that was just sort of the
Mhm.
consensus. But honestly, like huge risk on my part talking about Gabby. That could have got back to her so
Yeah.
bad, but I guess it worked, you know,
I
to
also
earn that
think
trust.
when everyone on the tribe is saying Grant, it's like very
Yeah,
obvious that those people are just together. Like if all
right.
four people other than Grant were like, it's Grant, then it's like,
Yeah,
okay, well, obviously you four are in an alliance
yeah,
and Grant is just not. So I guess I could work with you on this one vote, but now what? You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
now I'm
And
just the Grant of your group.
right. I also feel like I made it clear in my conversation with her that like I am working with the coconuts, but that's not my intention with this
Yeah.
game, which I don't necessarily think other people were specifying. Like they were like,
Mm-hmm.
you can come in with us. Like that was kind of what they were saying
Right.
to Allie.
And I think that made a big difference.
Whereas I was like, I will turn away from this group to potentially work with you and like
Yeah.
keep both options open, you know.
Right. And I think that that went a long way. She clearly
Hmm.
trusted you the most, and you guys even
Hmm.
find a formal final two.
Yes.
Um, even though you have one already with Zach.
Well, as Ella said in this episode, I'm never gonna shut a door. Or what did she say? I'll
Yeah.
never shut a door.
Well, Mitch, I think you just did.
And that's what she totally did shut a door to Allie in the conversation that they had because it was
Oh
like
yeah.
very tenuous between them. Like Allie's like begging for Ella to give her like something, and Ella's like,
Yeah, and this brings us to bad lie of the day number 2.
yes,
Which is Allie like very much expressing, well, if I vote for you with you on this vote, like I'm scared that like now I'm just gonna be on the bottom and you're just gonna vote me out next. And Ella's like, well, you know, let's just put it this way, you wouldn't be next.
it's very successful, clearly, at instilling confidence in whatever group you're trying to form together.
Well, you wouldn't be next.
I'm not saying you would be I'm not saying you'd be safe with me. I'm just saying you wouldn't be next.
Yeah, like we
Maybe
wait
second,
one
third,
more
you know.
time. Yeah, like the round after that at least.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely not next. Maybe like third, you know. That's fine.
So yeah, so Allie's got a bad lie already. Ella's got a bad lie. As we move
Hmm.
on through the episode, we'll get to more
Yeah.
bad lies. Did I
Yeah.
miss one that already happened?
I can't remember.
Gabby, when Allie
Oh,
asks, like,
yes, yes.
yeah.
What did she say? I forget.
God, what does she
She oh
say?
no, it was just like Allie was like, so is there anyone on your tribe that you're like interested in getting rid of? And she was like, no.
She
Mm.
went, not really.
Yeah, or was it like about alliances or something? It was something about like the
Yeah,
coconut dynamics
she
or
just said it
something
was
like
like,
that.
no, not really. And Allie was like, sounds fake. Anyway,
Yeah, I think that was about the alliances, like the alliance structure on her. And she was like, yeah, no, there's not really any, or it was something like that.
yeah.
But yeah, some bad lies happening.
Yeah, I will say, even though Gabby doesn't give her a lot, like she does express in her confessional that, you
Hmm.
know, the fact that she's just like chatting with Allie, she's already kind of letting her guard down with her
Yes.
and like perhaps open to like opening a door with her.
Yeah, that is a dangerous game to play with playing this game with your friends who are not also your alliance members. Like I think that's kind of what happened with me too, is like me and Allie got alone and talking and like we both clearly wanted to work together, but I think I did say more than like my game brain should have allowed me to, because I was talking to someone that I talked to a lot, and like I sort of started, you know, saying all my inner thoughts and feelings. So it's a dangerous game to play.
Yeah, so the coconuts are really talking about like getting Caroline out, right? And
Yeah,
Allie's
that's like
kind of
priority number one.
with that, and then we also get the dolls talking about potentially breaking up you, Zach, and Ella, and like kind of Gabby
Yes. And
too.
kind of Gabby, yeah.
But then Max throws Caroline under the bus. Who would have thought?
I feel like he did this completely accidentally. Like he clearly didn't know that she was keeping this a secret from them. Like, you know what I
think
mean? Like
he just like
intention.
wanted to be messy.
Yeah.
Like I don't
I
think it
thought-
was an accident. I just don't
Well-
think he was like thinking about like what that would mean. He was just like,
Really? 'Cause-
well, I was like, because he literally is like, well, she didn't even tell you.
No, because I think that what happened is, what I'm gathering from the footage is that they were not filming, and then he goes, oh, and Caroline's idol. And then they turn the cameras on, and then Max, and then Allie's like, so Max has just revealed that Caroline didn't share the idol with us, which I think he was assuming everyone knew about it, I guess,
But
is what happened.
he's a little shady about it afterwards. So I think he does
yeah.
kind of think it's like maybe tea.
It is definitely tea at the same time. But I feel like he was maybe, this is my guess, I feel like he was maybe assuming that like Caroline had shared that information with the rest of the tribe or something.
Bestie, that's your number one ally. At least try to cover it up.
Yeah.
You gotta at least be like, oh yeah, she just found it. I don't know, something.
Well, the funniest part is he doesn't actually want to, he's not like, I don't think he's purposely throwing her under the bus. He has no intention to get her out at all. Like he wants to keep working with her.
Is like, I have a piece of information and I'm gonna like be shady about it. But yeah, whatever. That blew my mind. And while they're talking about maybe like, you know, getting rid of flushing Caroline's idol, like she comes out with her little coffee.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey guys, what's everyone talking about?
No, she goes, if we stay 5 strong.
I mean, this episode is messy as hell.
She
From
is
top
like
to bottom.
Caroline is like, she is like walking around. She's listening in on all the conversations. She's like creating like an army against the coconuts. Like she's very like set on this idea that well, I mean, obviously it's right now it's 5-5, so it's extremely like tenuous. Like whoever's gonna give is gonna like be at a disadvantage. So it's there's a lot of incentive to like keep your tribe intact, even if you don't necessarily want to work with that tribe going forward. Because otherwise it's like, okay, the other tribe can just pick you off. So I think that's like her motivation for like really wanting to get rid of a coconut no matter what happens.
Yeah, and like she thinks Grant is her best bet, which on paper it does make sense because he is kind of the outsider, but he doesn't really know that he's the outsider. He's playing the role of an outsider, even though he is an outsider in reality.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But he thinks that he's not.
He thinks he's not because he thinks that we are Coco 5 strong, you know, which we are, but if someone's got to go, it's going to be
asterisk.
Yeah. Like if we have to give up somebody as like an appeasing situation for the other tribe, it's gonna be Grant. Like he's definitely at the bottom, and Caroline doesn't know that he's ready to like die for the coconuts, you know.
Yeah, he's like, maybe the worst person to try to sway.
Like that's the piece of information that she's missing, which is quintessential for the fact that her plan fails.
Yeah, but she's trying her best, and Grant's, you know, selling her a bill of goods.
Yeah.
But this rolls over to the endurance challenge. Let's talk about that, right? So we have to hold the buckets over our heads. There's not like a lot happening here in terms of like strategy, although there's a little bit of people pouring their buckets like evenly, quote unquote, into everyone's buckets, but like pouring slightly more into like the other tribe. But Grant, he's not afraid to make some waves here.
He's making waves. Yep.
He pours the whole thing into your bucket with like a little bit.
Well, I was gonna say someone to Dylan's, to be fair. But yes, I was so angry about this.
Really?
And like shockingly, I was really angry about it.
Oh.
Which is also like
I didn't really read.
Yeah, no, you didn't get that? Okay, well, behind the scenes, I was really angry.
Oh, was that why you said he said I want you to break your wrist?
He said, break your wrist. I want you to.
Break your wrist. I want you to.
I was so mad because I was like already like kind of annoyed that this challenge existed because my it's like the anti-optimal position for like my bad wrists. So I was like, there's no way I'm winning this. And I just did not think that someone from my tribe would target me such as this, specifically Grant, which is also like, I feel like I was kind of like not playing this super well because like I feel like it made it fairly obvious that I was like had some sort of working relationship with Grant. It doesn't really seem to come back in any way to me, but I don't know, like me being so upset about it, I feel like people should have maybe been reading into that because we did have an alliance, like just the two of us. But
I will also say I was thrown for a loop by a lot of what Grant was doing this episode.
he was
I had
being
no idea.
crazy.
I was like, whoa, what's going on?
I
with
also
Grant?
need to make it known he didn't discuss any of this plan with any of us, specifically with me. And like, because we had, and it also is crazy to me because he also seems to be very loyal to this little like duo that we have happening. Like that seemed to be his main deal. And he was not talking to me at all. And it turns out that he told this master plan about like voting for like convincing Caroline to get rid of Dylan, like that's his whole through line of his plan. He said that to Gabby, and to avoid suspicion, he asked Gabby to pass the message on to everybody, which she neglected to do. So there was zero transparency about any of this happening. He did tell me afterwards he didn't want to tell me about pouring the water in my bucket before so that I had like a genuine reaction to it, but
Which
he
is
also
fair, but you got to
but he
be communicative
also
in some
didn't-
respects.
but he also didn't touch base with me afterwards about it. Like we like
Right.
fully didn't talk, like me and him. So I was like, he's flipped. Like I was sure that he had flipped. I was felt it in my bones.
I want to be
that he
so
had flipped.
clear. Me too. I
Like-
thought the same thing, and I am the one who's supposed to be all knowing.
Like I was like, what is going on? And then he comes and talks to us like in the final maybe 20 minutes and is like, all right, so this is the intel I've gathered and this is the plan, and I gave Caroline the fake idol. And I was like, first of all, we did not talk about that as a group. This idol was supposed to be for us as a group to like use somehow. None of this was discussed with anyone. I talked to Ella. She was like, I didn't really want to give it to him, but I gave it to him. Like, it was all just very like suspicious. And like,
Yeah.
we thought that he was like now retroactively trying to cover his tracks of like, he's flipped by last second being like, all right, guys, the plan's in action. We're good to get Caroline out. But it was all just like a lie. But it was like, that was truthful. It was just a lot. It was a very stressful round. I'll say that. Mostly because of Grant.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy to I mean
Yeah.
to edit, it was crazy.
Yeah.
To rewatch, it was crazy. I can't imagine what it was like to like play it.
I also will say that like in the last like, I think you like, not that this is your fault, but I think you gave us too much time because we started to like lose it.
Well,
like in the last
no,
like
that was the best thing because I
No,
was like,
I know.
I want to wrap it up, but oh my god, there's
I know.
chaos happening.
And the thing that happened is that like the idol that Grant had, or no, Max was confused because Max for some reason forgot that something happened with like he forgot that Caroline already had an idol and thought that she had a second idol. So then it gets back to me that Caroline has two idols, and then we completely pivot the plan and put the votes on Caroline again. Like it was like crazy, like insane scrambling at the end, which is why like when we get to tribal,
we need to
I'm sorry.
backtrack a little bit because I think like before we talk about like the actual vote, we need to talk about more about the Grant scheming. And his like master plan that he has going on here because it makes a big impact.
Yeah. Well, first of all, unless there's anything else you want to say about the challenge.
Not really. I mean, Max wins.
Yeah, Max
nothing
wins.
really crazy.
So,
good for him.
Yeah.
We applaud him.
Good job, Max. That was a good win for him. Not that I don't really, I think he's right when he says that he wouldn't have gone home at all, but
yeah,
you know, it's nice
to
win.
It's nice to win.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
That's really it. Okay, so Grant's
Yeah.
scheming, right?
Yeah.
So the dolls are trying to get him on their side, but he also has another plan to like fool them into taking this fake idol that is Ella's and like
Well, let's also, sorry, before we get into the fake idol, let's talk about bad lie number 4. When he
sure.
finds
Yeah.
the idol he finds the fake idol on the ground and goes, huh,
Well,
so
Max goes, "Whoa, that wasn't there yesterday."
and then he goes, so it's got to be real then, huh?
Huh, it's got to be real. Must be real.
And then this goes along with another bad lie, which I actually think came first, is the puzzle box being like sitting there, and then
Yeah.
it's Grant, Max, and Caroline, and they're like, oh yeah, so this is our puzzle box. Oh, looks like someone got it. Yep.
So another bad lie coming from Max.
Yes.
He literally like holds it up like to his eye as if that's gonna do something and goes,
looks like someone got it.
Looks like someone got it.
It was giving Allie being like, don't fucking look at that paper. Like it was like he wanted it to like not be
Put that away.
as if it would matter. As if it would matter if Grant looked closely at it. But it seemed like he was like,
I gotta say, great on Caroline for saving that one because she's like, oh, I think that was probably like Santino that he got voted out with an idol.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, some people didn't read the rule book. You are not to reveal any game information once you're voted out. And he like took out his idol.
Listen,
his fake idol.
Listen, that happened. And I have to say, not a single coconut saw it because we all were like, wait, what? And everyone was like, yeah, no, he showed his idol. And we were like, wait, what? But I guess it was like Dylan and Allie.
The knowledge had come out.
Yeah. So it spreads naturally. But yeah, so yeah, good save for Caroline. She's a better liar than some of the other people.
Everybody else. Jeez, yeah.
Yeah, so Grant asks Ella to give him the fake idol so that he can enact this like well, the funniest thing is he sets it up by being like, I'll tell you what. If I find an idol, I'll show it to you guys.
Oh, yeah, that's another bad lie. So I guess like we can work together and you know what? If I find an idol, I'll give it to you guys. Which is a crazy thing to say.
Let's also talk about the fact that he explains his entire Dylan plan to Caroline and Max, and they seem receptive to it. He explains that like
I don't think they're listening.
No, they're not. No, their eyes are glazed. They're going, not a single word penetrating their brain because they seem like they're agreeable to it. And then it comes up later and they're like, wait, what? When did we agree on Dylan? And it's like
actually multiple times he's
earlier. Earlier we agreed on Dylan.
But they are right that it doesn't make sense for them.
No, like, it doesn't make any sense for them.
Yeah,
like at all.
Because that would totally like make Allie like so sus of them.
Definitely. Allie's 1 million. I mean, if they can't already tell how shaky Allie is, like she's like, even if she was loyal to them, she's flipping if that happens, like if they just suddenly get rid of Dylan.
I also think this is such a funny like thing for him to be doing on the side because there's like a completely different plan that's happening with with the rest of the coconuts, and he's off on this little side quest to be like, we gotta convince him that it's Dylan.
That's what I'm saying.
Give him this fake idol.
Because the fact that like we could have gotten rid of like if he would just work with us and then we could flip somebody else, like, you know what I mean? Like we wouldn't have needed Allie and Dylan because we would have had Grant, know?
Up until this point, like it's like, all right, it's Caroline point blank. She's gonna maybe vote for, whoever, but like it doesn't matter because it seems like you guys have also swayed Justin and Allie maybe.
I think Allie and Dylan were on board with Caroline because there's that scene of Allie being like, Dylan, get this. What if we get Caroline? She goes, dead serious. What if we get Caroline out right now? And then he goes, and then she goes, you want to vote along tribe lines? He goes, no. But yeah, like she's pretty set on Caroline being the right.
A lot of people want Caroline, and that's clear. So the fact that like Grant is doing all this, it feels unnecessary.
It's 100% unnecessary,
and it
was already gonna happen
because he's like like seemingly telling Caroline and the rest of the dolls about your plan.
Yes.
Wait, and I'm recording this, and I'm also thinking that he's gonna switch. So like, he's not doing a very good job of. I mean, I guess he's doing a good job of convincing them that it's real.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work out for him because
But it's
Allie
bad.
runs back.
Yeah. Yeah, because Allie's actually on our side and he doesn't know Allie's on our side. So Allie's like, guys, Grant is spilling your shit to Caroline. Like Caroline knows that you guys want her out. So she's definitely gonna play her idol. And then that's when Grant's name gets brought on the table. Well, it's like, okay, well, first of all, he's spilling our game information to Caroline, so he's obviously not trustworthy. And then second of all, she's gonna play his idol, and it's gotta be him then,
Yeah.
like
I also
so.
feel I think the best thing that this Grant thing did was just distract Caroline and
Yeah.
Max the whole time, because
Yeah.
now they don't have time to be like trying to sway Justin more. I mean, we do
Yeah.
get that little bit of Caroline being like, so you're good, right? You're good.
Mhm.
And then Justin being like, yeah, my name was out there in the Mergatory. And then Caroline's like, yeah, your name was out there. Meanwhile, she's the one that voted for him.
I don't know why she
Bitch,
voted for
it was
Justin.
you. She just like she knew. I think she knew it was gonna be Santino, but like,
But she couldn't vote for
she
him.
couldn't vote for
Yeah.
him. I mean, she's more loyal to Max, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know to be honest, I don't know what not voting for him did for her, besides maybe make Justin upset because he wasn't going to be jury anyway. But either way,
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
is what it is. But
Yeah.
she also just maybe didn't know the plan and voted for
Yeah.
Justin. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she doesn't have a lot of time to try to like talk her way
Yeah.
out of it with other people because she's so worried about this Grant plan. So
Right.
her and Grant are doing their own little side quests.
Yeah, they're both like just like spending their time arguing with each other and like all this stuff that doesn't matter. Like that's never gonna matter in the actual vote.
Right.
Which is just it's so funny to watch back. Like so
Yeah.
much scrambling over like actually such a simple vote. The funniest thing about it is that the most obvious person to leave went home after all this.
Right. Well, yeah, because what ends up happening is like because Grant's doing all that, like it's like, okay, we're gonna split it between Caroline and Grant.
Mhm.
And then like Caroline gets in her head that maybe Grant is the actual target. And I think
Right.
that's ultimately why she doesn't play her idol, because
Yes.
everyone's so annoyed with whatever
With
Grant's
Grant.
doing.
Well,
Which
I
is
think what happened,
fair.
I think what happened is there's like unfilmed conversation where her and Zach finally talk.
Right.
And she, I think, is like, Grant is being crazy and like doing all this stuff. And Zach is like, yeah, we want him gone. He's our target. So then she ends up like wanting Grant to leave, but then she ends up switching back to me for some reason. I don't know why, but it ends up being back to me. Maybe because she was worried about him playing the idol.
Right, because she thinks he has yes.
Yeah.
She thinks he has an idol.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I mean, this is a complicated vote for sure.
Yeah. So I think that like she assumes we will vote for Grant, and then to save herself, she votes me.
Right.
Just in case Grant uses the idol.
I guess
something like that.
Probably happened was when Grant played the idol and it was fake, she probably was like, oh, well, good. Grant's gone then.
Yes.
Because I have the vote, so I won't play mine. Like she probably was only gonna play it if he played it and it was real.
And it was real, yes.
I think that's probably what happened.
Which is funny too, because I also asked Grant the next round, I said, buddy, why'd you play it? Like now it's gone. Like we can't even use it anymore, like as like a fake idol or as if it was. I wasn't aware how like prominent it was in the plan and stuff, but I just was like, we never agreed to like, this was supposed to be a tribe idol. Like we never agreed for you to like play it. Like
you at least you gotta tell people.
Ella didn't know that he was playing it, which is also like that's her idol. Like she found it. But anyway, so when he played it, I was like, why did you play it? And he was like, I wanted to scare her. And I guess it worked.
I guess
but
it worked.
But it also ended up, but he didn't know how it scared her. Like you know what I mean? Like if he hadn't played it, the same thing would have happened. But
Yeah, I guess it
get,
just
like,
caused confusion. I'm not really sure.
and I think that was
Um,
Grant's whole strategy was I'm just gonna do so much confusing stuff that like no one else can conceptualize a plan. That was what was happening.
Yeah. But it is very sad because Caroline doesn't play her idol, even though she
I
said she was
know.
going to, and
I
she
know.
is gone.
I know. It's very sad. I actually really wish she did play her idol, even though it would have put me in a tie vote. Because what happened was Justin, the plans got very confusing. So I don't blame Justin for this, but we ended up switching back to 4 on Caroline, 3 on Grant, and then they were going to put 2 on me. So that was all expected, except Justin voted for Caroline instead of Grant. So then it ended up being 6 on Caroline, 2 on Grant, 2 on me. So if she did play her idol, then I would have been in jeopardy at the tie. So that was not the intended outcome. Ended up being fine, but yeah.
Yeah. But Grant probably would have gone if she did play it.
Yeah,
That's
because
just
she was
my
so mad at
hunch.
him. Because she was like,
I think everyone's just
Everyone
like, what
was
is
like,
this guy
"God."
doing?
I don't think anyone felt like they could solidly work with him at that time. Like,
Yeah.
it was crazy.
So I think we're gonna bring in Caroline, get a little insight from her on what the heck happened here, and when we return, she will be back. Caroline, we're so sad to see you go. Girly pop,
It's
why didn't you play
okay.
the idol?
Honestly, I don't really think it matters if I played it or not, because I'd probably go home next round anyway. So yeah.
You definitely would have still had a
You
target on your
definitely
back for
had a
sure.
big, yeah.
I don't think I was escaping that target, so I'd
Yeah.
rather just like get it over with, see how the game goes from there then.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you think that there's anything you could have done to get the target off your back?
I don't know. Like truthfully, maybe not for like the long haul. Like I think I like very much went into the merge with that target on my back. So I think if I made it past a few rounds, it could have been okay, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an uphill battle for you. You did have a good plan going into this merge to like keep the tribe strong. And I feel like if like Santino were still here, he probably would have had your back. But I don't think you had as strong of bonds with the others besides Max, obviously. Is there anything that you feel like you could have done to like earn that trust from others?
I guess like Allie and I did cover each other's back while we were on the tribe. So like I never voted for her in that respect, so I feel like we both had an understanding there. But when it came to merge, like I feel like it made sense for their game to like flip, so
Yeah. That's another thing though, because who went home on your tribe? Mo and Dominic. And not saying that these were bad people to go home, but you did keep around people that knew your game better than they may have. So maybe they weren't.
But I also kept around stronger players too, so
very, very true.
people who were like more ready to like get into it. So
yeah.
I do know that Allie was like red flags on you once you like convinced her to get rid of Mo, and then she was like, wait, that wasn't smart for my game at all. Why did I listen to Caroline? And then she was like, oh, I can't let Caroline, like she's too like Allie felt like she was too like convinced by you to do things. So she like wasn't, like couldn't work with you because she knew that you were like she was easily manipulated by you to do those things.
I really don't think
swayed.
Allie's like easily swayed though. I feel like she has like brings a lot to the table too. So I guess I didn't see that side of it.
Well, we know the agreeable allegations.
I think she thinks she's too agreeable. I don't think she's that agreeable. I feel like she has a lot of relationships going.
Yeah. I mean, she definitely pushed back on the Mo Santino thing, but I mean
yeah, I think it's less of like I think this season she's like able to like speak back about like what she wants, but when she starts to like lose sight of like what she wants that it becomes a problem, you know, which I think is the issue she was having talking to you. Like she was like, I don't know, you're just like really good at convincing people to do things. So she was like, oh yeah, Mo is the right choice. for
Yeah.
some reason.
All right, let's talk about this round in particular.
Yeah.
Grant was a big part of your story here. Talk about your perspective with this really interesting cross-tribal relationship.
Practitious relationship,
Practitious
perhaps.
relationship.
No, I swear we're friends outside of this.
Definitely.
Definitely. Yeah, I feel like going into the season, I think I'm one of the only person or people that genuinely wanted to work with Grant. And so when he was just like being so obviously, or like he so obviously didn't want to work with us in like a genuine way, where it became very obvious that he was just trying to like stir the pot,
Yeah.
that I was just like, oh, why are you doing that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting that you say that you were the only one, like one of the only people that wanted to work with him, because he had in his mind that you were like totally against him from the beginning.
Yeah, he
No.
picked the Coconuts tribe because you, Max, and Santino were on the Dolls tribe, and he thought that you guys wouldn't want to work with him. And there was less, I was the only one on the other tribe that would maybe have that issue. So that was like, he was trying to avoid like his past connections in the game.
So maybe
Yeah.
that was
that was a
Yeah,
mistake.
I feel like if he would have just talked to us, because we did want to work with him.
Yeah. Right.
At
Yeah.
that
You
point,
wanted to
so-
like genuinely bring him in to the fold.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah, but
was.
And I think that's only the reason, that's like the only reason it got so heated, is because Max and I were being very straight with him, and he was trying to like pull a fast one on us, and we were like, we actually want to work with you. What are you doing right now?
Right.
Yeah.
Like you're like
Yeah.
he wasn't understanding that like him being like, whether or not this is true, but like you were trying to tell him that like he was not in a good spot in his current tribe, and he just like wasn't hearing it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, which is like, it's his game, so he can do
Yeah.
whatever he wants.
Right. We
But
also
I
talked
think
about how it also took up so much time. Like he kind of like just blocked you from like talking to anyone because he just took up so much of your
I know.
air.
And then he tried to give me the fake idol at one point, and then he played it, and I was like, okay, it was fake. Cool.
Yeah, the fake idol thing was crazy.
I mean, you could see it on my face during the episode. I'm like, and who are you? Because I know that he knows that it's fake. I'm like, who are you playing this
Who
for?
is this for?
Yeah.
And like no,
And
that
if
was
anything,
really
that
that was really bad on my part. I
Yeah.
should not have done that. Like I
Yeah.
really like if someone had read my face a little harder, it would have been very obvious that like
you knew it
that
was
he
fake.
I'd have been like, okay, Grant, sure, this is not real. And you know that.
And you know that.
And you know that.
that.
I still don't really understand the move, but you know,
he
we're not-
definitely said
I don't
something
know.
about like he definitely told me that it was like to scare you somehow, but I'm still not understanding.
Were you
like,
scared?
still not understanding the logic of scaring you with
I think
it.
if anything, I was annoyed because he kept trying to give me it, and I told him no, because at that point I didn't want to work with him anymore.
Yeah.
Because he was taking up so much of my time, and I was like, no, like I'm not gonna like take whatever idol this is from you.
Yeah.
You can just keep it.
And then when you find out it's fake, you're like, okay.
I'm like, okay.
Like,
yeah,
so
I think
annoying.
yeah. I think you're both similar in certain ways where like you both very much like wanted one thing and neither of you were really like wanted to compromise. So it just like it became a standstill. That was his title. And at that point we were just like wasting time.
Right, because like you're trying to like force a relationship that like is not beneficial for either of you at that point, you know. And like then the worst part about it is,
I think by that point I like kept trying to walk away at that point, and then he kept coming up to me and being like, "We should talk again," and I was like, "No." I think I talked to him one or two more times after that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I guess my question is like, do you feel like you should have given up sooner and like try to shift gears?
I mean, definitely, yeah, in retrospect.
Because it felt like by the time
we shifted gears, like I don't think there was anything I could have done at that point.
I don't know. Grant was doing a lot.
I was gonna
think
say,
Grant was
maybe.
doing a lot.
I think if you had time to talk to us about switching to Grant, like if we had like converged and been like Grant's playing both of us, then
Mhm.
like it would have maybe if we had more time after
Right.
that.
Yeah,
And like
because
this
I
was
did talk to Zach, and Zach told me he
Mhm.
wanted Grant out too.
yeah.
I think it was
At
probably
one
just
point-
a little too late because
Yeah,
at that point,
at-
like the
Mhm.
pan was very solidified. You know.
Right. Like I think that
Mhm.
that happened because Zach didn't even like bring that info back to us because there wasn't time, you know, because at one point Grant was our target over you because he was being so crazy. Like we were like, we can't keep him in this game.
So that
yeah.
just goes to show you never
Mhm.
know what's gonna happen
You
in
never
this game.
know.
Yeah. I think I have one more question, unless
Mhm.
Jess has one that she wants to jump in.
No, I don't. I feel like we covered a lot
Okay.
of
So really
yeah.
the last thing I have for you is, with 2 seasons now under your belt,
Mhm.
have you learned anything about yourself?
I learned. I feel like this season especially was just a lot harder to play the game, like
Mhm.
coming into it, like going so far the first time. And I think I learned a lot about like the strategy. Maybe don't let Grant take up too much time. You know?
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah, in general.
Well, it's also so
Mhm.
funny because there was so much time that we
So
gave for
much
this.
time.
Maybe I
Mhm.
think it was maybe an hour and a half to just
It was
talk, but people
it was a
were
long
filling
time.
the space, so I gave it to
Yeah.
them.
Mhm.
And it still was just like Grant going crazy berserko.
Yeah.
So
It was so much time we started spiraling into like 80 different
Mhm.
plans is what happened.
Yeah.
So I think that brings us to episode MVP.
Ooh.
It's really hard, I think,
Mhm.
for this episode because there's so much happening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But does
I have
anyone
mine.
you want
I
to
have mine.
start? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start. So I'm choosing this person because I think out of everyone in this game at this point, they made it so they put themselves in the best position moving forward. And they probably benefited the most from this vote, just with all the chaos that happened. And I'm gonna give that to Allie.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
super fair.
I
Because I
also
think this is like the
said
beginning of her trajectory.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I also said Allie for my episode MVP. I agree. I said she's playing the middle really well. She wasn't caught in
Mhm.
any of the crossfire of the decisions that were being made, and she had like pretty much the deciding vote of like which side she wanted to keep around, you know, or like keep working with.
Mhm.
She also has like strong ties with Dylan, and Dylan was pretty much willing to like do whatever she did.
Mhm.
And no one really wants her gone, and everyone wants her as a number.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I also said Allie. Everything you guys said, but also I think she's very proactive, especially like at the beginning of the merge here, like
Yeah.
trying to see
Mhm.
who she can work with on the other side. And knowing who is not an option. And she
Yeah.
recognizes that very
Mhm.
quickly. And then she knows who is, which is Jess and Zach, who are like feeling her.
Mhm.
That's really it. And yeah, she's playing the middle very well. That's
Yeah.
what I'll have to say.
She's
So
in a good spot.
we're here to roll out
Mhm.
the disco ball for Allie. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Allie. Deserved.
Episode
Mhm.
MVP. And
3
Caroline.
votes, unanimous.
Yeah, unanimous episode MVP.
And Caroline, you have not seen this yet, but we've started a new thing, which is
Mhm.
the silly goose of the day.
Mhm.
Which is the player who made the silliest mistake. Yeah, I guess
Decision,
the
mistake,
decision.
presence.
Mhm.
Do we have any nominees?
Yeah.
Grant?
Yeah.
Why? Yeah, let's hear the argument. Let's hear the argument.
Okay. Is it the chaos that ensued once the challenge was over? Confusing his own tribe to think he was against them. Playing a fake idol that he knew was fake for no apparent reason other than to cause drama.
Mm-hmm. Yep. all of those
Yep.
things and more, really.
And more.
Jessica, do you agree?
Yes, of course. I think that the only silly goose on the table here has to be Grant. He derailed his entire game in this one episode.
Oh, you have a goose too.
Congratulations, Grant.
But it's a goose today.
It's gonna stay this. I want to be so clear.
Yes.
We're never
Mhm.
switching it to an actual goose.
No, I know.
yeah.
It's a little goose.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and
Congratulations,
so
Grant.
were
Former
you-
episode MVP, two-time episode MVP, but
Wow,
he's
two-time episode MVP.
and
How
now
the mighty fall.
I know the mighty have fallen.
Wait,
Mhm.
so did you agreed with Grant? Okay, you
Oh,
had no
yeah.
other
No,
nominees.
that's the right decision.
Yeah. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, two unanimous votes today.
Two
It's
unanimous
just-
votes.
Yeah, he's playing his own game
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
worrying about the fact that there are 9 other people playing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's really I think that's all we have to say about that.
Mhm.
So thank you, Caroline, for being with us today. We hope to see you again. And if for the future, next week,
Mhm.
the next boot will be joining us as well. Also, Survivor
Mm.
46 is wrapping up. So by the time this episode is out, will be the week of the finale, and we will be
Oh, cool.
doing an overview of the season. So check that out if you are watching. And if you're not watching, what are you doing? Because listen, it's a crazy season.
Great season.
Great.
Mhm.
Like if you like the drama in this episode, you
Just you
gotta
wait.
watch. You
Just
gotta watch
wait.
Survivor 46. I mean, that's drama. So that's really all I have to say. Thank you for watching, and with that, Mims are signing off.